Hey Lab Rats, and welcome to this edition of the Metal Lab podcast. This is the special end of 2021 edition. Obviously we'll be going over some of the amazing tracks that we've managed to listen to over the past year, and some amazing bands. So hi Tom, how are you? How are you feeling about this year's worth of music and how it's gone so far?
Happy New Year to you, Richard, and all the Lab Rats out there.
Yeah.
We've had an amazing 2021, I think. And I don't know how we're going to top it in 2022. Hopefully there's more bands out there that are just going to absolutely blow us away.
Yep, I think that is the case. I think obviously 2020 and 2021 there was a lot of disruptions to people's lives, but I also think it was actually quite a nice time for some musicians to be able to spend some time on their craft.
Definitely.
And I think we're really starting to hear the fruits of those labours, and hopefully out of all bad things, good things can come. And I think one of the things that's coming out of this pandemic is the plethora of music and the fantastic things that hopefully will explode out of that dark period.
I think it's also allowed people to realise as well that they don't need to record everything in the studio. They can do do it remotely like they did, you know. Some really good albums that have come out just over the lockdown period, and you know, each member doing it in the house, and then all recording and putting it all together, which is saving a lot of money for a lot of these bands who haven't got the money to do it.
Yeah, this may well be the future in terms of recording, in people being able to just record their parts, work their parts where they are, just that more collaboration, that more online working, that definitely. Distance working.
Yeah.
So talking of good band, so obviously our first podcast that we had all those months again,
it's unbelievable, isn't it?
It is how quickly it's all passed. So for this podcast we've decided to pick not necessarily the best, not necessarily our favourite, but a track that we think helps stand out from each of the podcast editions over the past 9 months. So who was the first choice for you from our first podcast?
Well, I chose a band that we support quite well. They supported the Metal Lab quite well as well. And this band, the first track I ever heard was Insomniac.
Right, okay.
Back in 2019, so that really sort of blew me away. And obviously a female vocalist as well, which is something that's always been big with me. I love female vocalists.
Bit of a soft spot for that.
Yeah. So I chose Dying Oath with their new track End of Days, which is just an absolute banger anyway. I love it.
It is, yeah, so make sure you check them out, and let's have a listen. Let's go. So that was Dying Oath with End of Days, and again, just a great track, and like you say, great friends of the Metal Lab. So cheers, guys.
And I hope as well in 2022 that this first album can come out for them and they can really sort of hit the road running, because they've played a few decent big like festivals and stuff at the end of the year. So just hopefully things can start going right for them.
Yep. Well, I think the only people that can stop them is themselves, to be honest. So let's hope we hear lots more from Dying Oath. So again, obviously from that first podcast that we did, that was a great step for us and for the Metal Lab in getting some music out there and actually being able to listen to these tracks. Do you feel that there's been a change now from back then?
Well, you know that obviously the production content for me was always very, very hard, but now I think obviously now we're sort of 10 podcasts in, I think people are starting to realise that what we're doing is true to what we've always said. We is the Metal Lab, we are the home of underground metal, and we want to try and push that as much as we can and get enough promotion. And there's always me as well trying to give over my love for the underground.
Of course,
scene, you know what I mean, and try and do it in a way that people can relate to that. And I think it's starting to work.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, everyone's got their own tastes, but obviously, I think the biggest problem that we found was getting the music out there for people to actually listen to decide what they liked and what they didn't like.
Definitely.
Because, part of the problem is that exposure, and I'd like to think that we've actually managed to contribute to the metal scene in helping to expose some of these bands, and obviously going forward that's what we want to do more.
I think as well it's been important for me because I've had to realise that not everyone's going to like what I like. And I've had to be a little bit more open-minded with obviously the Metal Lab and having submissions from bands that are not so heavy, and I've had to have that more of an open mind and think it's not just about what I like, I need to realise what everyone else likes as well, so that's really opened my mind in the last 18 months, because I used to be very into sort of Napalm Death and all of the heavy stuff, Carcass and stuff, but I've sort of got into new sort of genres and sort of sounds as well, which has been quite interesting. For obviously we've talked about it before with like having pianos and violins and stuff in, and thinking
you don't just have to have guitars to be a metal band. You are allowed other instruments.
It's been very interesting for me. So
that's great. So from our first podcast we moved on to our second podcast, as is usually the way. The second normally comes after the first. So again, we had another great group of bands at that point to listen through and to be exposed to, and again for me personally getting back into the metal scene and not just listening to mainstream metal or to the old Metallica, Maidens, that kind of Megadeth, that kind of thing. It's been really nice for me to experience some of these new bands and hear this stuff that's coming through. So what was the choice for the second podcast that we've got today?
Well, this band, they're from Stirling in Scotland. They're a three-piece band, very sort of new metal sounds. They won our Battle of the Bands as well. They got an interview on France Fanic's show, which was quite cool. This band's called Arc Arrival, and they're from Stirling. And the track that I chose was a track called Rebirth.
Fantastic. Let's go.
Right.
So that was Ark Arrival with Rebirth. So Tom, as you're saying, they were winners of our Battle of the Bands, and that's something that obviously we really tried to push and really help make available for acts out there. A chance for them to actually get their music heard, not just on the Metal Lab page, but to a wider audience with an interview and airplay on radio stations. So obviously that's something that we'd love to continue going forward. So how can people get in contact if they're interested in becoming one of the Battle of the Bands?
Yeah, so we'll just go back a little bit about the history. Obviously, we ran that through the pandemic, didn't we? Because obviously we thought it was quite an important way of giving the bands exposure, because obviously there was no gigs, everything. And it's not like your average sort of, well, you know, bragging rights. It was more of a, you know, let's put two bands together from two different genres. And everyone votes on the Metal Lab page. And it's just about getting that knowledge of, as I said, it's a band that you've probably never heard of that you might like. It might become your new favourite band again, and you don't know this until you've heard it. So you know, we ran that quite successfully for just over a year, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's definitely something we want to again push again this year.
Yeah, the winner of the battle, they obviously get a 15-minute radio interview with a radio station that we work with in South Africa. So we're hopefully going to run this in the next couple of months again. So obviously once we've got some submissions and stuff. So if you're interested, obviously contact me on my personal page, Tom Nando, or metallabinterviews@gmail.com. If you can contact me, send a submission over, and then we can pair you up against another band. And then we can get the ball rolling again, and hopefully get more exposure out for these bands again. Because the global reach, this is what's important for me. You know, France has got his online radio station. He has listeners from all over the world. And you know, with Ark Arrival, what they said to me is a little Scottish band from Stirling has been heard in Argentina and France. And to some bands, that's really amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing on any level, the fact that you can, like we said, be in your bedroom, record something nowadays, and then it get heard by the world.
Exactly.
When we were growing up, that was something that me as a musician back then, it was just like, well, the only way you can get your music out for your town is to either drive there or be lucky enough to get signed by a big label that had that reach. Whereas nowadays, all you need is a little bit of help, and we're here to help give you that.
We are sort of that reach in a way, aren't we? We're that new sort of...
Hopefully getting to that point, I mean, that's part of what we want to achieve, in helping to get that metal out to as many people as possible. And I think it also goes back to a little bit what you were saying in the fact that your horizons have been opened a little in terms of the music. So with this Battle of the Bands, yes, there may be one band that you really like, but by being put up against another band from a slightly different genre, it may be something that you wouldn't normally go and listen to, but here it is, oh, I have listened to that, oh, hang on, I actually quite like this. And I found there's been a lot of that, which
there was a lot of bands that messaged me and says, oh, we don't think we're good enough for the Battle of the Bands. Please don't think that. Doesn't matter if you've got one single or you've got an EP, whatever. That one single could catapult you into, you know, the next level, and there could be 100 people that absolutely love it, you know. And that's what you need. This is what we're about. We're about the grassroots underground metal. We want to make sure that, you know, we can get enough subscribers, enough likes for you, enough exposure for you. You know, that there was loads of shocks in the Battle of the Bands. You know, I'd put up two battles and think, oh, you know, this band's definitely going to wipe the floor with this one, and then I'd put it on the page, and like 4 days in, and like, oh my god, you know, this second band is absolutely ripping the other band apart, and I think, wow, you know. So the music genre and has just completely changed in the whole sort of couple of years. I think, you know, people are actually sort of listening to more different stuff.
I definitely think so. I think there seems to be people more willing to mix different styles and willing to listen to different things, which obviously is great for music, because the more influences, the more change there is, and the more chance of some more great music. So talking of more great music, we have our next band coming up, and this is Modes, and again, this is another band that I know that you really appreciate and get on well with. So could you tell us a little bit about Modes?
Yeah, they were a 5-piece. They're from Kent in the UK, metalcore band. They've now turned into a 4-piece at the moment. But yeah, we've got a lot of time for these guys. These are what, you know, the Metal Lab is about. Young musicians who are hungry, that we want to, you know, help expose. You know, they didn't have a very big following, but now obviously we've interviewed them and stuff, and you know, they won the Battle of the Bands as well, which to them it was amazing for a feeling. They were so gratuitous and everything, and they were saying, oh, thank you so much for the opportunity, and this is what we want. It's as we've talked about before, as a non-musician, for me, I can't really see that, how important it is for some people, but it is. It's that next stepping stone, isn't it, to becoming.
It is, it's the difference between playing guitar in your bedroom and also being on stage, and then from stage people actually going, oh, you're quite good, and seeing your name in print and things.
Definitely.
I definitely think that's a good progression for musicians, and something that most musicians want. So we're going to have a listen to their track, and the track is Flame Alive. So let's go. So that was Modes with Flame Alive. And I was saying, another great band.
Yeah, definitely.
And some people that definitely deserve that exposure.
It's weird because the metalcore scene sort of went a little stagnant for a while, and then obviously it's come back, and deathcore's come back, and as we were sort of it's more of the music of the youth at the moment. Like in the 90s when we had bands like Pitch Shifter and stuff like that. They totally changed the whole landscape of metal, didn't they? I remember
they did, yes.
when we heard them and WYSIWYG come out and it was all that electronica sort of.
Yeah, it's like, what's this doing in metal?
And and then bands like System of a Down as well. From Albania. And they were like, what? This sound is completely different, but. It was changing the whole landscape of how metal sounded in the 90s, doesn't it?
And
Metalcore's now doing
metal,
this.
Yeah,
definitely.
Else.
It's really strange how the youth just pick up on a certain genre, and it just.
Well, this has been the nice thing again for me coming back into metal for not really participating for so long.
Yeah.
Is being able to hear all these new influences from all these different aspects.
Definitely.
And it's, again, I can hear little bits. Oh, that's a bit Fear Factory. That's a bit Maiden-y. Oh, this is a bit Deftones-y. This is a bit Paradise Lost. And again, some of these names I'll say to some young people, and they wouldn't have a clue who they are. But their music is influenced not necessarily by them directly, but by the bands that were influenced again from those.
Yeah.
So there seems to be this new influx, this new melting pot of sounds, which is really nice.
And I think the nice thing as well is you do get some of the younger bands that do have the influences from people like Maiden and Metallica, but the nice thing is people are doing their own stuff.
Yes.
So that when you listen to it, you can't actually see an influence because you think, this is completely different.
Yeah, this is really nice.
And that means that, to me, that the music is evolving because, why should you still make music of an influence of a band 40 years ago? You should try and, break the barriers down and really make your own sound, because...
And I think that's what's happening. I think people are starting to find their own voice, and especially over the pandemic period, I think there's been a lot of people that, like I say, have been soul-searching, have been really honing their craft and really working out what it is that they want to say.
Yeah.
And so I'm really looking forward to the albums of 22 and 23, just because I think there is just going to be that leap in ability, whether that's the writing ability, whether that's the playing ability. But I'm really looking forward.
Yeah, I think we're in for some big shocks. Yeah. Not just with the sound production, but I think the whole metal genre as a whole, I think we're going to hear some new sort of sounds, some new sort of, moments where you're going to listen to an album and think, oh my God, I've never heard that before. Yeah. I really think that, a lot of people have put in a lot of good work, over the past 18 months to sound different.
Yes, and to sound how they want them to sound. Yeah. So talking of bands that sound how they want to sound, our next band is DC Virion.
DC Virion,
so again, can you tell us a little bit about them?
They're a black metal band from Philadelphia. They're under the record label Plague Demon Records in Philadelphia. We've promoted them quite a while.
Yeah, but look, quite a few of the Plague Demon tracks out there. So
George is a big supporter of the group as well. So if you're listening or watching, George, thank you very much for your support.
Thanks, George.
So the track that we're going to play today is the Requiem for the Ultimate Failure.
Oh, fantastic. Let's go. So that was De Severion and with Requiem for the Ultimate Failure.
See, it's weird because I never really got into black metal. There was a sort of a time in my life when I just thought, it's really sort of something that I didn't want to listen to.
Right. Okay.
I really just couldn't understand the whole concept behind it at the time.
Okay,
and then I went to joined Play Demon Records and got involved in the promotion, and I started listening to some of their albums, and to me I just thought all black metal sounded the same. It did
Right.
for a while, but listening to the different bands that we promoted on our Play Demon podcasts and stuff, that's changing as well. The landscape of black metal is completely changing. A lot of artists are now becoming just one man artists.
Well, there seemed to, when we were younger, there wasn't that many bands like it. Like you say, there was a very, very narrow margin of bands that followed that, and you knew they were definitely black metal.
Yeah,
they looked a certain way, they sound certain ways and things. So I can understand if that was something that you wasn't overly into, then I can understand that being something to step away from. But I think you're right, and again, it's part of that evolution of the boundaries between what is and what isn't. I think are starting to open up now. I think people are starting to appreciate other genres and other ways of doing certain things.
Yeah.
And like I say, for yourself, just the introduction of strings and things like that into some of your music, the fact that you're becoming much more accepting of that, rather than it just being from these big bands like Dimmu Borgir. Obviously,
Cradle and
you know that there's a certain amount of orchestration that comes with that's not normally in normal metal bands, but that's something again that I think is slowly starting to change. And again, with you saying about these one-man band kind of things, the technology is allowing people to do that nowadays.
Exactly, it's amazing, isn't it?
You don't have to be able to play all the instruments to be able to record the instruments now. We've got all these music writing programs where you can start doing that. So again, I think we're going to start seeing some more creativity from that end, which again is just very exciting coming forward from that. So for me, one of the big things that we've been doing this year has been our gig list, and it's something that for me as a musician when I was younger, I'd always go to the back of Kerrang every Thursday, go check to see what bands are playing, go and have a look. And that's something that I've wanted to try and make sure that we capture and have. So again, if you go on to the Metal Lab page over on Facebook, every Thursday, we put up a list there for inviting bands to come and basically just promote what shows they've got going on. Let us know what's going on near you, when you're playing, where to get tickets. If you're a promoter, let us know if you're putting on any gigs, whether it's that upcoming weekend or whether it's a week or a few months in advance. Just help drum up some support for yourself. We're saying, please come on, shill yourselves out, tell the world where you're playing, just so that everyone can come to a place and know, okay, I want to go to a gig, but I don't know what's on. Come check out the Metal Lab, have a look on there and see what shows are local to you. And if it's an area where you can't see any gigs, put up a message, ask people, are there any gigs going on near me? Use this opportunity to help each other, to support each other, to help keep music alive, basically.
We have it under the post topic as well, don't we? Gig list. So
hashtag gig list.
Hashtag gig list on the Metal Lab, and you'll find all. I mean, because there will be some that might be a couple of months in advance from previous weeks. So
that's
you can
true.
Always,
and
look at that as well.
We're perfectly happy for a band that's got a gig coming up in a month's time every week. Just put your gig up there. It's fine. There is no issues with that. It's free to do so there's no cost to you other than your time and the effort that you put into promoting yourselves. And again, if there's any special messages or anything that you'd like to put out there, get in contact. We're more than happy to try and help any unsigned underground bands get more exposure. That's the reason we're here.
I think that's the hardest thing about promoting your gigs now, isn't it? There's not a lot of sort of magazines out there, or the subscription. People are, it's getting too expensive now for people to actually pay for the subscriptions, and there's not a lot out there to actually advertise the gigs, is there?
No, I mean, when we were younger, I think we've said this before, there was certain places where you knew you could always go, and we're there every week.
Definitely.
And I think one of the downsides of the internet, in a way, is the fact that the information is everywhere. It's hard to find that one place where you can find everything. And again, that was the point of the Metal Lab, to be that one place where if you're into metal, whatever the genre, you can come to the page
Yeah.
and get to find out about the newest bands that are out there, where they're playing, where to get the merch, where to get the tickets, just that general information. And it's something that is starting to get there. It's starting to get to the place where we had our vision of what it would be.
I think I've seen how powerful it is as well, because obviously, you know, we help promote and put on the gig at the Met Lounge for Ingested.
Yeah.
And obviously the promotion that I done, the sharing, you know, obviously the ticket sales and everything, that really shocked me, because obviously now it's more of a digital sort of
absolutely
thing than it is just printing off flyers and handing them out to people.
Unfortunately, for people our age, the way we used to do things is over, and it's about finding those new ways of doing things. And again, hopefully the Metal Lab can be part of the driving force of that for the next generation of musicians.
Definitely.
So our next band that we're playing is Truth Decayed. Again, another great band. So what is it that made this be the band that you wanted to pick out?
It's just the whole relationship that I got with Franz and the South African metal community. Truth Decayed were absolutely ecstatic when they won the Battle of the Bands. You know, they put it on their profile. They've treated this like as an award. You know, which is really, really, you know,
it's humbling.
It's very for us, because it's a lovely thing that, you know, they've took on board, and they've said that they was, you know, really happy about winning it. And to me as well, with obviously my Metal Around the World's articles as well, I didn't realise how big the metal scene was in South Africa.
No,
Do you know, until I started researching, and then Franz, we got in touch with him, and the amount of bands that have come through, even from Devo, the company that Diva Graphic, the promotional company, they send us loads of stuff over, and unbelievable some of the bands that come out, you know, and they're just one of the bands that, again, you know, they've started off with a couple of little singles, and now you can see they've taken that next step into, you know, where they hope to be going in 2022.
And I think there's a good chance of getting there. So what's the name of the track we're playing?
The track is one of my favourites that they've done, and it's called Modern Day Illusion.
Let's go.
Has lost its definition. Truth, a modern day disgrace. Lies forever hold their presence. Glowing from a screen onto your face.
So that was Truth Decayed with Modern Day Illusion, and again, like I said, another great track from them.
Yeah.
So 2021 has been a bit of a weird year for everybody.
Yeah.
But what have been some of the highlights for you so far within that, and some of the music that's been out?
The whole highlights of me have just been the complete growth of the Metal Lab as well, you know, and people actually realising that what we're doing is working. You know what I mean? You know,
it's nice.
I know there is a lot of other groups, and to me, it's never been a competition. To me, it's been, you know, this is what we do, and we like to do it different. You know, like the Battle of the Bands, no one's ever done this, and it was really a success. The gig list, again, no one's ever done this, and we've got some really cool segments coming up in 2022.
Yes, we do.
You know, so make sure you check that out. We've got something called Merch Memories, so that's going to be a really good interactive segment.
Yep,
it's going to be brilliant. Again, you know, we want to, you know, do stuff that no one else is doing. We want to do stuff that, you know, is going to excite everyone in the group and think, oh wow, that's a really cool segment, you know. And I'm coming back with my track of the week every Tuesday. So again, it's another good bit of exposure for any bands out there that if you've got your new single and you want me to push it, if it is my track of the week, I will. If it's not and I still like something else, then obviously, you know, I will choose that, because that's the whole idea of it being my track of the week, isn't it?
There's no point of being someone else's choice.
Exactly. But but I think, you know, overall it's just been a really cool year for everything. The podcasts, you know, we discussed that at the start of 2021, and there was quite a lot of to-ing and fro-ing, and ahhing.
What can we do? How can we do this? Yeah.
You know, and I was quite defiant that, I want to do the podcast, because I think, you know, they're a really important way. And then you said, you know, after a couple, let's go live and do it like this, you know. And then again, there was a bit,
can we do this? Can we do that?
And obviously, a lot of the good feedback from this kind of the podcast, the live, has been really positive.
Yeah, it's been really nice.
Yeah, it's been really cool. So
with you saying about some of the bands coming out there, because again, one of the things that I think has been quite nice again is our Spotify playlist.
Yes.
So that started quite recently.
Yeah.
And we've already got quite a few hours of metal.
I think
there at the moment.
There is 11 hours so far.
Yeah. So so long enough for you to drive from one end of England to the other,
or England to Scotland
and back again. Without worrying
Yeah.
about having to change the station from that. So, and again, this is all music from underground and unsigned bands. This isn't mainstream stuff. So go over to the Spotify, check out some of these bands, give them a listen. If you like what you hear, go and check out their albums, buy their merch, go support them, because the only way that we're going to have a thriving music scene is if people participate. And that includes not just listening, but going to the gigs, helping out, buying the merch, showing an interest in what's going on, basically. And I appreciate not everybody can get to all of these gigs or can go and do these things, but if there's a big gig going on from a big band and you can't make it for whatever reason, consider just going to see a local band instead.
Yeah, which we have been doing, haven't we?
Yeah. It's just because you haven't heard of the name doesn't mean to say they're not fantastic.
Yeah.
All of these big bands started off small, and as you keep on saying, these underground bands, these unsigned bands, they may be your next favourite band.
I believe that. That's my philosophy, and it always has been, because there has been some bands over the last 18 months that I've never heard of, and you know, I've researched them. And someone, Mike from Misery Point Radio, he calls me the heavy metal treasure hunter. He says you just find these bands from everywhere. You know, there was a band that I'd done a review on that were in the same city of him. He's a DJ, and he'd never even heard of them before. You know, and some of these bands that I've discovered, I'm like, oh my god, these are so good. Why have I never, like, you know, a lot of really cool bands that are from all over the country.
Yeah, and again, it's that kind of thing. It's just because you've not heard of them doesn't mean to say they're not great. And that's part of the point of the Metal Lab, is to help give exposure to all of these musicians and these bands, and to help people who enjoy listening to this somewhere to go to find these great bands.
And we just love as well that the bands want to be on the Spotify playlist, you know. So if you're on Spotify, you check out Metal Lab Recommends Spotify playlist. If you are a band who are on the Metal Lab and you're not on the playlist, just give me a DM and we can add you to it. That's not a problem.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So talking of bands that we've got on there, so the next band we've got is Thy Dispraise.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Another great band. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about Thy Dispraise.
These are a 4-piece from Iran, so obviously you'd never thought about heavy metal coming out of a country like Iran, would you? But again, I discovered them through research and doing my Metal Around the World. Again, another Battle of the Bands winner. They were really stoked when they won it. Because obviously, again, it was their first ever radio interview. European station as well. So, yeah, it's really cool.
That exposure,
and it's nice to see that there's some global exposure in the UK for them as well. Because I know how much the censorship is and how hard it is for them to get their music just out of their country, you know, to be listened to. So it's such a really, really cool thing for me.
Yep, so let's give them a listen. So this is Thy Dispraise with their single Sullen. that was Thy Dispraise with Sullen.
You really liked that track, didn't you, when you first heard it?
There's been a couple of tracks like that have come out, and it's like, well, this is new and different. And again, coming from a different part of the world, like you say, where you wouldn't necessarily associate metal with, and again, especially some of the imagery and the connotations that come along with that, is something that some of these bands genuinely are in fear of actually producing, and it's purely just their love for the music that keeps them going, and the fact that we can also be part of that is great. So one of the things that helped discover these was your research into your Metal Around the World. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the future of Metal Around the World for the coming year?
Yeah, I think what I'm looking at doing is doing more of a live sort of show Metal Around the World. So instead of doing a written one, we want to try and do a live version of it, don't we?
Yep.
So like a heavy metal travel show, which would be quite cool.
Again, obviously, restrictions at the moment.
Yes.
Not just with the pandemic, but also money. We can't afford to travel around the world. Unfortunately, that'd be quite nice.
It will be sort of that sort of kind of heavy metal travel show, and we can, talk about the bands in different countries and stuff, and we might even revisit a country again, because in the last 2 years there could be new bands that have.
I don't think there's just 3 bands from each country, obviously.
Of course, but it's nice to go back to different countries and find out. I mean, because I know in Pakistan a lot of the metal in Pakistan is doom metal.
Yeah.
That it's a very high percentage of the bands take their inspiration from doom metal.
Right.
So
okay.
It'd be nice to go back and do some more research and find some bands that maybe have a different sort of genre.
Taking that.
Yeah. So that'd be really, really cool.
Fantastic. So make sure you join the Metal Lab to keep an eye out for those coming up.
Definitely.
So obviously with the Metal Around the World, there was from Iran, and we've done other places around there, like say from Pakistan and from Indonesia and places around there.
Yeah.
But also from a bit closer to home, or at least closer to our ties from America and places like that. So it's not just weird and wonderful places. It's places where you wouldn't expect to find unsigned, these hidden gems kind of thing.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I really like from the Metal Around the World is that sometimes it will be from somewhere in England, in America or Europe, and all of a sudden you find these fantastic little bands and just find out these little nuggets of information. Something that it's really nice.
I just hope that the reader enjoys what I'm trying to give over to them, because obviously I enjoyed writing them, and I enjoy the research in the bands, and I just hope that everyone that reads them has that enjoyment as well. I always get excited writing and researching for it, because it's just to me it's what I live for. It's really exciting for me, and I just hope that when people read it they get excited as well and think, oh my god, I've never heard of this band, I need to check them out. I didn't even know that they existed, or like the whole concept of Pakistan and Iran and Indonesia. If you're not from there and you don't know the metal scene, you wouldn't even know that metal existed in these countries.
Well, the fact that you know that there's a doom metal scene, not just metal, but the specifics of it from there is fantastic. So again, if you're from a part of the world where you may feel like you're the only metaler in the country, if you're in a band from these places, get in contact, let us know. We'd love to hear what's going on around the world from all these new places, from all these new influences.
Definitely.
And again, one of the things that Sepultura really kicked in for me was that use of that indigenous musical instruments being important, especially when Roots came out.
Oh yeah, it was all that sort of Brazilian
with all the drumming that kicked in with that. It was something that
it did change the landscape, didn't it?
Absolutely. It was that, well, this is different, but I love it. And again, it's that kind of stuff coming in that I've really
This is what I was trying to explain about the 90s, like the late 90s, early 2000s. Bands like that changed the whole metal landscape, didn't they? Because for us growing up, we were just in that sort of zone of, that's not metal, but that is metal. Do you get what I mean? And then when bands like, obviously, Pitch Shifter and then, System of a Down and then Sepultura come, you're like, oh, I've never heard of this sort of, Brazilian sort of drumming, and you think,
just
wow,
the different rhythms that were coming into play with things.
But it was the new start of the new metal, really, wasn't it?
Yes, that big change of influence.
Definitely, and I hope that in 2022 going forwards, we can have a breakthrough band that's going to really change the whole landscape of what's next to come.
Yeah, that would be great.
That would be so cool.
Well, hopefully we can be part of that. So the next band we're going to listen to again was from...
This was from the Not So Metal podcast.
It was. So this
Yes.
was something that was a little bit different. So in that
Mm-hmm.
podcast we chose bands that wouldn't necessarily be described as heavy metal.
No.
Or may not even have been described as metal at all, but
No.
were bands that just had that feel, had that rocking moment of them, and were just that little bit different. So the band that we chose for this was MX the American.
Yep.
So take us through the processes for why you felt that this was the band that really sort of stood out in that episode.
Well, Rad Ray, he's the vocalist. He's just been a big supporter all along. This was probably one of the hardest selections on this podcast because all of the bands on there were absolutely amazing.
They were, weren't they? Yeah.
We had Vulgarism, we had the Night Thieves, we had LeBrock,
Yep.
MX the American. It was such a hard choice, you know. And I just thought, you know what, some of the UK bands are well known anyway. MX the American hasn't got as great exposure here,
No.
so I'd like to sort of, you know, promote them. And there's that different sort of alternative American sound that I'm missing at the moment because, you know, again, the whole American rock scene seems to have gone really sort of quiet at the moment, and there's not a lot of bands out there that are trying to push that. And
No.
it is one of my favourite genres growing up, you know, sort of Creed and
Yeah.
stuff like that, Alter Bridge and bands like that, so Cold and Stained and stuff like that. So I hope that will come back in 2022 as well, that sort of American rock
We can agree
sound.
to disagree
Yeah,
on that.
yeah.
I'm not sure whether we need Creed back for 2022. I'm not sure whether that's a bridge too far
Yeah.
for that. So let's give them a listen. So this is MX the American with their track Ghost.
Trying to get nearer, meeting so many people dearer. There's the one that I lost in love, truly the one I never found. Found me stretching on the hybrid, 6 feet tall above the ground. I see you standing there, you're not alone. I wonder when you're going to bring me home. Think of you every minute of every day, all through the night, especially when I'm alone. I miss you so much. I see the spirit, this ain't normal. I just tested paranormal. I long for your energy, so cozy. I'm just thinking you're blowing my mind. see my mind spinning round and so round. Up and living innocent is all we I feel your energy, I see your love. Every time I hear it, I keep running from the spirit. The lightning strikes and the thunder rolls. This ain't normal, I just tested paranormal. I feel your energy, I see your energy so close, and I'm just thinking you're a ghost.
So that was MX the American with Ghost. So again, just another one of those great tracks that...
Yeah, and again, something different for me, isn't it? Because obviously it's a more lighter sort of song.
Oh, definitely. From
something
the
that I never thought
to.
that I would get into. But I think, obviously, as the Metal Lab grows, we're going to have to grow with it and obviously make sure that you know, it's not just about the metal. We can also, if you're in a heavy rock band or a rock band, you're welcome in as well.
Of course,
you know, that's the thing. So, and it, you know, it's not hard. It was just the acceptance for me that
you are allowed to listen to something that's not just balls to the walls metal.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's good music is good music.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely.
Right. So again, that's something else that I feel that we're trying to push, and I hope that the people who are part of the group understand that is, although it's the Metal Lab, it's not all just about metal. It's more about the music and for me the ethos of metal, that brotherhood, that idea of okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it my way and I'm going to do it as well as I fucking can.
And the DIY element as well.
Of pushing that, not really being reliant on other people, although we all have people that we rely on. And I hope there's always somebody out there that other people can lean on when they need the help too.
Of course.
But to have the strength and the courage to at least try by themselves if need be. If everyone's telling you no, but you know deep down this is the right thing to do or the thing for you, then at least give it a try.
Definitely.
It may not always succeed, but it's better to try and fail than to never try at all. And so again, if you're a band, you're unsigned, underground, and you need help with your exposure, with getting heard, get in contact with us over here at the Metal Lab. We will do whatever we can to help you. And again, we're not charging for this. We just want the music out there. We want to help spread this for people. So yeah, by all means, get in contact, and we're more than happy to try and help everybody out there.
We had a nice end of year sort of couple of gigs, didn't we? You know,
we did, yes.
Local, you know, we put on some local gigs at a local venue, didn't we? So we went and filmed some really cool footage, didn't we? Which is on, you know, going on YouTube soon. So
that'll be up there.
You know, and we managed to obviously get Ingested and, you know, Red Method and other bands like that, which is really cool. So if you're on our YouTube channel, check out the segment In the Pit. And come in the pit and obviously enjoy all of the video footage, which is really, really cool as well.
And hopefully for 2022 there'll be more of that. We're hoping to actually go out to more of these gigs, so we can actually show people what it's like in these shows, because just because there might only be 20 or 30 people at that gig, but that might be the best gig those 20 or 30 people ever go to. Definitely. Some of the best gigs I've been to have been those small intimate gigs where the bands just love it and the people listening to it just love it, and it just comes together and they're just great nights. And for me, this is where it all starts. It's yes, it'd be nice if every musician could be playing to 10,000 people every night, but that's just not the reality of it.
No.
But it doesn't mean to say they're any less of a band, it doesn't mean to say they're not as good, or the fans aren't as intense for them or don't love them as much. It's just that scale matter, isn't it? And so we're here to help scale that up for people. So the next band we've got is Disinherit.
Yeah, they supported Ingested.
They did indeed, yeah.
Amazing.
And they were, again, a great band to go and listen to and to see.
Yeah.
So what are you hoping for them for the future?
New EP. Obviously, they had all of their songs already gone and ready to play. So hopefully 2022 brings the EP, because I think that's going to be massive.
I think so.
Yeah.
So the single we're going to be playing from Disinherit is
Torment, Torture, Kill.
Let's Go. So that was Disinherit with Torment, Torture, Kill. Again, Another great track.
Very heavy. Yeah, it was really good to see the guys as well, and actually, get a bit of promo and stuff for them, and it's just nice because they sold a lot of merch that night as well.
They did, yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
It's brilliant to see that, and that's good to see as well that people are getting out there, spending the money again, and buying merch for a band that have just started this year.
Yeah.
Early last year. Late last year, early this year. They just got together.
But the thing is, good music's good music, and as long as you can get it out there and get the exposure, then I think other people will pay attention for it.
Definitely.
So, obviously, 2021 was a bit of a strange year for everyone. Obviously, 2022, everyone was inside for all of that. 2021, there was a little bit of a hope there would be some light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the case for some of that. We started to see some shows starting up again. We started to see the end of some of the social distancing, but obviously it was still very much there. So given 2022 is still starting off with a little bit of wariness, but that seems to be breaking off. Yeah. Do you think this will be the year where everyone will be allowed out to play properly as we have done in the past, or do you still think there's going to be some restrictions in place stopping people from managing to do that, whether that's from the local authorities saying that, or whether that's from people just being a bit wary about going out?
I hope not, because I hope that the whole vaccine passport thing doesn't really affect everyone, because you are going to have some people that will think, oh, maybe I haven't been vaccinated, I can't go to gigs, and that could be one of the big impacts. If there's people that aren't vaccinated, that you could lose a big majority of people going to the local gigs. And hopefully local venues would sort of help out on this and just say, we need to monitor it. But it's tricky, isn't it? We've all got to get out there and support the bands, but we've all got to stay safe as well.
That's very, that is. So for me, I'm hoping, like you, that this is going to start becoming the normality, normal way of living life, and so whether it's the passports for the larger gigs, whether that's just making sure that you're testing yourselves before you go to these gigs, just to keep everybody safe. But for me, I do hope that there is going to be more relaxing of some of these restrictions, obviously in line with being as safe as possible for as many people as possible.
Of course.
I'm hoping this is the year where the live music scene is actually going to take off. And so on that, if you do, like we said before, with our gig list, get in contact, put down what gigs you're going on there. If you're a promoter and you want bands to come and play, put messages out on the page. Just say that you're looking for gigs, looking for bands to play these gigs. For people out there, obviously there's still a little bit of fear out there about this, and what I would say is that more and more people are now vaccinated. More and more people are now suffering less serious consequences due to the vaccinations that have been going on and the changes in the variants of this. So please do try and get out there and support these acts, obviously as safely as you possibly can. We wouldn't want people just to go out for the sake of going out, but hopefully this is going to be the year where all of these bands that have been cooped up for 2 years just practicing and playing are going to be able to explode onto the scene.
I mean, personally, in my view, I'd rather go and support. I'd rather go to 100 local gigs and underground gigs this year than go to a stadium arena.
Yes.
Because we could go into the whole. Would you pay 150 quid to go and see Metallica now? No, I wouldn't, because I could probably spend that on 10 underground gigs with 40 or 50 bands, and go and see all them. Yes, I know Metallica have the high expectation of being a great band, but some of these underground bands are charging 12, 13 quid for a gig, and you're getting 4 really decent bands playing.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's important for them. Metallica and Slipknot and people like that, they don't need all that anymore, do they?
No. Well, you'd think they wouldn't need all that.
Well, they get it through merchandise and promotion and everything. And it's just a shame, really, that they have to, pump the ticket prices up so much now, isn't it?
That seems to be the unfortunate thing, that these bigger bands are charging huge sums to go and see them, and I understand that is funding a whole plethora of people behind them, a whole industry that keeps those bands going. But again, for us, like you're saying, if it's a choice between going to see one band, really expensive ticket, or going to see 5 or 10 bands, maybe go see the 5 or 10 bands and help give them a chance to then become the next biggest bands.
I could go to 10 underground gigs at £12 a ticket to get into maybe Mama Lizzie's or whatever, and see some really cool underground bands, and that's costing me 120 quid. Or I could go to, I don't know, Old Trafford and see Metallica for that one night. This is where I break it down. And the 2 other support bands I might not like.
That's true.
Exactly. So, and that's where I see it. I feel that the underground scene has really got to be supported in the next couple of years for it to start, bubbling up and really,
really pushing.
Yeah, definitely. And the venues are the big thing. The venues need to really, really try and promote this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's all right with people like us doing it, but the venues need to really get involved
to
in
help
it
as well. Yeah. Well, and again, I know we've spoken about this. That does seem to be a bit of a two-way street in the fact that obviously the bands need to be pushing themselves and promoting, but quite rightly, the venues as well need to be willing to put these acts on,
definitely,
and also helping to promote them. And that doesn't necessarily mean just giving them money or making sure there's posters up. That's about making sure that the venues are ready to have live music being played in them, whether that's setting up separate stage areas and helping keep that maintained, whether that's again just building up that buzz around the fact that this is a live music venue. This is somewhere you can come and actually see real people playing real instruments in front of you in real life, rather than just sat at home in front of the TV. So one of the bands, and this was the band from our last podcast, so this is still quite fresh in minds, and that's Incursion. So tell us a little bit about Incursion.
UK metal band. We've done some promotion for them for their new album. It's Head of the Snake, so I've done some promo for that. I just really like them. They've sort of got that sort of weird sort of look about, the face paints and everything. So it was really cool. It's just nice to see again the different sounds that they bring with this track,
So what's the name of the track that we're playing?
The track is called Scourge.
Let's go. So that was Incursion with Scourge. So again, another great track.
Yeah. It's just, how are we going to compete in 2021? You know, hopefully with everything that's coming out, hopefully we have a more amazing year this year.
Yeah, I mean, so each of these tracks that we played, I mean, this was obviously from the past 9 podcasts that we had over in 2021. So this is just a taste of some of the music that is out there at the moment that people can get involved with. So please do go back, listen to the other podcast, go onto the page, check out some of these bands, go onto our Spotify page, check out YouTube channel, just check out the Metal Lab and all of the music that's out there at the moment, because it is a fantastic amount of music that isn't just one genre of metal. If you're interested in something that's slightly heavier, come over to the Metal Lab.
We've listened to a few sort of bands today, haven't we, that again I've had a lot of new submissions for 2022 already, so it's quite exciting to see there's new bands that are sounding completely different from last year, which is really cool as well. So that's sort of given me that sort of landscape to think, wow, you know, this 2022 is going to be maybe a completely different year of different sort of genres of sounding, you know, metal as well. So I'm quite excited about it, to be honest.
Yeah, so talking of bands of the future, so the past 9 tracks that we've shown you have been 2021. So what band do you think is going to make an impact in 2022?
Well, the band that I've really sort of loved for the past sort of 12 to 18 months has been a band from Arizona called Wormhaven. I discovered them obviously through my research, and they entered our Battle of the Bands and they won it. But they released an EP called Delirium, and the EP, it was just amazing. You know, speaking to the band, it's the first ever EP that they released. You know, and again, from a non-musician point of view, the production of the whole EP was just like absolutely breathtaking. From start to finish, every single song had something different. It was just, I don't know.
You just love it, don't you?
Undescribable, yeah. And obviously, I've spoke about this band a hell of a lot, haven't I, over the past 18 months. And I just think that, you know, the next step for Wormhaven is that first, album now. I really think that they're going to be absolutely huge.
So you think 2020 is the year that they take it?
We could even call it Wormhaven 2022. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
So let's have a listen to them as our final track of today's episode. So this is Wormhaven, and the track we're listening to is Neurosis. Let's go.
My reality shatters and the fragmented piercing my core. Walk away, where the fuck I went wrong, 'cause everything is falling apart. Take this lesson in the palm of your hand. Trace all the steps that brought you here. Shed the dead skin from your bones.
So that was Wormhaven with their track Neurosis. So again, hopefully that's going to be the start of many things to come for 2022. Like we've said, the Metal Lab is here for people who love metal, whether you love listening to it, whether you love playing it, whether you love promoting it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Come join the Metal Lab, help us, help support the music scene for underground and unsigned bands. This is what we're living for, to do this kind of thing, to
definitely
help push this, help give that exposure. So please do come join us over at Facebook, over onto our YouTube, onto our Spotify, wherever it is. Just come and really just come with an open mind with these bands. And
definitely,
again, don't expect subpar music, because that's not what you're going to find. You're just going to find some amazing musicians putting out some great music out there. So make sure you come over to the Metal Lab for all your news, reviews and interviews. Join us at the Metal Lab,
the home of underground metal.